Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Holly, and today I am going to just create some very simple, cute, easy weekend coffee mugs. I have not posted a video for over a week because my craft room is a mess, big mess, not just a little mess, it's a big mess. And I told myself I had to organize my supplies before I started a new project. So this last weekend, I went down to my craft room and I just started moving things and boxing things and organizing. And I found these mason jars underneath my sewing table. I have no idea how long they've been there, but I stopped organizing and I grabbed those mason jars and I started crafting instead. So my craft room is still a disaster, but hey, I finished a project. So when? I don't know. I have been enjoying iced coffees after work because when I get home lately, I am so stinking exhausted. And my daughter gave me an espresso machine for Christmas, so I've been loving making my own iced coffees at home with my fancy little machine. So I'm going to show you what I did. I just grabbed these. I made them in a weekend. It really didn't take that long at all. I didn't have to spend any money because these were in my craft room already. So all the supplies I'm using, I didn't have to purchase. They were just there. I'm pretty sure these are 16-ounce mason jars. They're pretty large, good size for a nice cup of iced coffee. So I'm just guessing 16 ounce. I'm not really sure. And they have the wide mouth canning jar lid rings that I attached. They're the silver rings, but I'm going to make them gold with some glitter. Right now, what you see me doing is I'm using stencil vinyl to make a peekaboo. It's just going to be a very gentle peekaboo pattern or background on this mason jar. I'm going to put some white glitter just very sparingly around that stencil vinyl, and then I'm going to pull up the stencil vinyl because when I make iced coffee, there's something about looking at the ice and the coffee caramel sort of dripping through the milk that I really enjoy. And so I really want to see my coffee. So I didn't want to make it too frosty around the outside with glitter. I didn't want to make the glitter dark. I still wanted to be able to see through that jar, but have a little bit of glitter. The files that I used, I found all of them in Cricut Design Space. So I just did a search for coffee, teacher coffee, and then I did a search for frames or borders. And so I found these two frames that I liked the most. And then I decided not to use the inhale, exhale, repeat, but I did use the coffee, teach, repeat, and then the may your coffee be strong and your students quiet, I think is my favorite. And so I'm going to put the borders around both of those and then cut those, and that's what I turned into my stencil peekaboo. All you have to do is click the shape that you want to be solid. You go down to contour and say select all, and then I just made it a different color and put it behind the words so I could see exactly what it's going to look like. So then you have your piece, you have your original border, so I make a duplicate of those. One of them stays original and the other one I go to contour and click to select all. So then that creates my stencil vinyl peekaboo, the gray portion. And then the black is the border that's going to go over the top of it after I create the peekaboo with my glitter UV resin that I'm going to be using. I need to tape off the top portion of the mason jar where the threads are for my mason jar lid, and then I'm going to go ahead and tape off the bottom. You don't have to tape off the bottom, but since it's a clear glass and I really don't need to epoxy the bottom of it or put glitter on the bottom, I'm going to be using electrical tape for both the top and the bottom before I apply my UV resin and then peel that tape off as well as the peekaboo stencil vinyl. I realized that my mason jar is not in full view, and I'm really sorry for that. I really thought my hand was under the camera, but nope. Basically what I'm doing is I've added some white glitter. I'll link it in the description box, in a little bit of UV resin in the cup, spreading that all over my tumbler. Then I'm going to let this tumbler, I'm going to hit it with my torch really quickly, and then I'm going to pop it on my turner just to let it spin a little bit to level out, to completely level out that UV resin before I start putting it under the UV lamp. When I put it under the UV lamp, I just want to hold the lamp on it very briefly, super quickly, where the blue stencil vinyl is, and then I have to peel that stencil vinyl up. If I let the UV resin cure too long with a stencil vinyl, I'm not going to be able to get that vinyl off there without peeling up some of that UV resin. So you got to be really careful with your timing of taking off any vinyl that you're using for a peekaboo. Once I've peeled off both the stencil vinyl and the electrical tape, then I put it back under my lamp to finish curing. So that took about, I think I did it for about 4 minutes, turning as I spun it, and then also just set the lamp on the desk in a vertical position to continue curing. After both my mason jars were done curing, it was time for me to put on the borders and the words for the vinyls. So first I had 2 little black marks on each of my tumblers on the top and the bottom that I used as a center guide. So I wanted to make sure that my vinyls were centered perfectly in the halfway mark. So you have your handle, and then on the opposite side of your handle, you have a little seam in the mason jars. So I just went halfway between that seam and the seam on the handle and put 2 little black marks that would help me as my guides. So I had to make sure and wipe those off. Then I applied my permanent vinyls. I had a heck of a time with this border. I had to cut it a little bit to get it to match up. It's a round. My tumbler is not straight. It has curves to it. And so when I was applying the vinyl, I think I twisted and turned and pulled a little bit too much, and it didn't line up perfectly. So that was probably the hardest part of this whole entire tumbler, was getting that dang border to match up and lay flat. For the words, I went ahead and stood my tumbler up because I was struggling with the glare of the light to see exactly where the center mark was after I took off that black permanent Sharpie that was my guide. So I stood my tumbler up, and then I just eyeballed it, placed the center of my words, and then flipped it over and then laid them flat. After all those vinyls are applied, then I have to tape up both the top and the bottom again, put them on my turner, let that vinyl sit and stick really well to adhere to the mason jar before I apply a clear coat of epoxy over the top of it. So for my vinyl, to make sure that everything does not repel, to make sure my epoxy doesn't repel off the vinyl, I use quick coat sealer while the tumbler's on my turner and just let those spin and dry as I am blinging the lids. So I did this part of the project first, put those on the turner, let those sit, and then I started blinging both of my lids with Jessica Flynn's Gatsby, which is a really pretty green mix. And then the other one was Mermaid Tears. What is the color of that one? I want to say it's a pearl, but maybe not. I'll check the name of that. Now I'm going to use UV resin mixed with Gold Dust Woman from Glitter Heart Co. And just very gently wipe that around the ring on all the surfaces, top and sides. Pop those underneath my UV lamp until it's cured, and then I'm going to start blinging. And I am using Gatsby again. This is the 3rd project that I've posted on my YouTube channel where I've used this rhinestone mix. Green is my favorite color. I can't stop using it. I think I bought 3 or 4 packages of this mix from the Flynn sister supply shop. So if she ever runs out, it's going to be a sad day for me. So I'm going to have to keep stocking up. So I'm going to bling out this one lid with the green Gatsby for some extra color on those days I'm feeling a little fancy. And then for the other ring, I'm going to be using Mermaid Tears. And I thought the color was white or pearl, but it's actually called white. So it's white Mermaid Tears. And both of these are going to be linked in the description box. The jewel picker I'm using is also from Flynn Sister Supply Shop. And you can use it and then use a pencil sharpener to sharpen it up. And I really love that wax pencil. This one is the white Mermaid Tears, super pretty. On the Gatsby, whoa, that's going really fast. Woo! On the Gatsby one, I did struggle a little bit with, because the lid has some indentations and some areas where I struggled to get the larger rhinestones in there, but I just maneuvered them around where they fit, where they wouldn't pop off, and then filled in the little sections with the little teeny rhinestones. So with Mermaid Tears, it was a little bit easier, but then what I started doing, I was watching TV as I was blinging, and I started to notice that I went from a scatter method bling to the honeycomb, and I didn't want the honeycomb, so I had to make sure that I moved my rhinestones around so that they wouldn't fit perfectly 3 in a row across the width of that lid, because that's what was starting to happen, and I didn't want that. So I made sure I moved those around, and in the end, I did have one slightly slide off a little bit, so I'm going to pop that off. I don't think you can see it in any of my videos, though. I'm going to pop it off, and then I'm going to apply a brand new Mermaid tear to that one section where it slid off. But so I'm just going around super fast. This one did not take me very long at all. And then I will show you what that looks like at the end. Super easy, super fun. Also, I think I forgot to say I'm using Liquid Fusion, which is the only thing I've used so far. I started with a paintbrush with the Liquid Fusion, and then it was getting all gloppy and gooey on my paintbrush and kind of drying out too quickly. So then I just ditched the paintbrush and I just went straight to squeezing it from that bottle you see in the upper right-hand corner. All right, I just sped right through that. You've seen me bling before if you watched my other videos. So nearing the end of the project, once I'm done, I'm gonna make sure that these sit for 24 to 48 hours, wash them with Dawn dish soap or any dish soap very gently, and then pop them onto my cups. And that is my favorite way to drink my coffee lately. So I will pour some ice into my glass or my jar, whatever I'm using, and then I'll pour some non-fat milk over the top of it, 2 shots of espresso, and then I'll mix 40% heavy whipping cream, which is a little bit more of non-fat milk. And then I like to use the Jordan Skinny caramels and Jordan Skinny syrups. So I'll put 2 pumps vanilla syrup into my heavy cream mixture with a squirt of the Skinny caramel and mix it up really good with my blender or mixer, and then dump that right over the top, and it is so sweet and so delicious. Give it a try. Let me know if you like it. Let me know if you like this project. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, all materials that I use will be listed in the description box.